Hello, everybody. This is CJ Miller. I'm doing videos. Some time ago, I gave up my Facebook account, and because I realized my social media output was more visual versus texting or readout. So yeah, so now I do videos and I post them to my YouTube channel. So anyway, I should come up with a clever name. Right now it's just CJ Miller. I just started it. Whatever. Should I ask people to like and subscribe? It seems like they sure already know to like and subscribe if they want to. Anyway, I'm walking from Bossier City over the bridge on Texas Street to downtown Shreveport, to our district. And behind me is this framework of the bridge. And what they're going to do is they're going to put colored LED lights on, vibrant colors. I'm not sure what the scheme is. I know they did this in the early 90s. I want to say 1992, somewhere around there. I had just come to Shreveport, and so yeah, it seemed like that's around the time they did that. And they had a big ceremony. 60 people got married on this bridge. They closed down the traffic, had a big thing, made a big whoop about it. When they install the lights this time, they probably won't do a big ceremony. End of a pandemic, you know. But whatever. But it was a collaborative thing in the past between the two neighboring cities. Anyway, so what's going on is I'm coming back from seeing this movie, Halloween Kills. Now, I'm not going to spoil the movie. It's October the 16th, and by the time I finish this video, it will be the 17th. It's just over midnight. But I went to see this thing as soon as I could. I would have seen it earlier, but I had a friend getting married today with the Halloween motif, and so I finished off my evening with seeing the Halloween Kills movie. Now, in 1978, the original Halloween, it was basically based on a legend of, the stalker and the babysitter. It had been done basically with Black Christmas, but they weren't babysitters, they were sorority girls, but it was the man upstairs on the telephone. And so this one was just a stalker and the babysitter, but the calls were not coming from inside of the house. But still the same social message of when you're like babysitting, be aware of the kid, like the one good babysitter that stuck to her job was the one who lived through it all, and everybody else got slaughtered to hell and back. So anyway, that was the basic message, and it was nice and simple. Then they had the sequels, Halloween 2, which got homaged a little bit in this new Halloween Kills, because some of it did take place in a hospital, but it wasn't stalking all the way through the hospital. But yeah, so, compare the movies all you want. Everybody's going to have their different takes. I kind of liked the cheap thrill, the fun of the cheap thrill of the slashers from the 80s. Horror movies now, they are very graphic, and the stories are, there's not like a lot of levity. There's certainly not a lot of levity in this movie, Halloween Kills, because it takes place directly after the events of Halloween, the one from like 2 or 3 years ago. The new trilogy takes place directly after that. So everything's already in motion. If there is any levity, it is in the occasional unintentional campy moments that happen sometimes early on in the movie, but that very quickly turns. There was some levity in the very first installment of this trilogy through the dad, and it was basically just every man in the movie was in some sort of way, archaic. And so the subtext was the Me Too movement, and all guys are kind of dicks. And I was like, I really enjoy this movie. It's a good horror movie. But as a horror fan, and I'm a horror fan, and I'm aware of what's going on with the social consciousness of the world and social media and everything like that at the time of the Me Too movements, and I'm really sided with that. But also, Jesus, fuck, can I not have a male representation in this horror movie that's not a total dick? From the boogeyman serial killer to just everybody, and so. That was my thing. See, I hear there's a lot of laughter and joking around on this side because there's lots of bars around this area. Okay, that was the first installment, and so there was a little bit of comic relief in that, but there was not so much comic relief in this one, unless it was, I'll just stay up here until I finish the video, and I'm almost done. But, so yeah, it was kind of like, yeah, there wasn't really room in this movie for comedic anything, I like what they did. This is a trilogy that kind of retcons the characters, some of their backstory. There's a character where they're trying to tease the little boy Lonnie into going into the haunted house. If you remember in the original movie, and then Loomis speaks over the bush and he's like, "Hey Lonnie, get your ass out of there," whatever. And so he takes off. Well, so they revisit that character of Lonnie in this movie as an adult. And this movie is about yes, Laurie and her daughter and her granddaughter feature prominently in this movie. How could they not? But also, this movie is, and we've been expecting it. We had to wait for a year. All of us fans, we already know this. This movie is about the townspeople. And there really is almost a Frankenstein lynch mob type mentality, and it's easy to examine what happens inside of that mob mentality when it's almost a non-human entity that's being focused. And then there are so that's interesting to see how they explore that. And then there are some stereotypes. I'm right next to a parking garage, I'm sorry. There are some stereotypes. I will say that the first movie in this installment, I would say I was unhappy. I loved the movie, but the way that every single male in the movie was kind of a creep in some way, shape, or form. And then along comes this movie, and what they really did was pretty awesome, because they did have some stereotypes, but they flipped them. Do you know what I mean? They were able to maybe show a little bit of a converse. Now, it's very subtle. It's very subtextual. But anyway, because I'm a big fan of subtext in movies. And so originally, horror movies didn't have too much of a subtext other than, hey, don't do bad things and obey your parents and stuff. And also later on in the mid '80s, they flipped that especially with the the Freddy movies, Nightmare on Elm Street. They flipped it with the you got to survive your traumatized parents because they're fucking you up in the '80s. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was kind of cool. But so with this, they just went different with it. It wasn't a question of okay, this person's being a douche, this person's being a. It was just a bunch of people, basically without drama or judgment. Or any of that kind of stuff. It wasn't about girlfriend breaking up with boyfriend at the prom or anything like that. But it was people surviving individualized trauma and their response to it. And whereas in the first Halloween movie, the first of this trilogy, they almost thought that Laurie was a cuckoo bird, that she was kind of locked up and treated that way in her own little house, locked up and everything like that. It seems like the reason for that is because everybody else in this town that had an encounter with Michael Myers that fateful Halloween night in 1978 or whatever, they were still dealing with their stuff. So let's see. Michael's nurse, Marion, she's revisited. Her character was killed in Halloween H2O, but this is a retconning of that story. So she actually did not die in this timeline, so that's kind of cool. And it was great. Like I said, there's not too much levity. The occasional campiness. This is not the German expressionist horror film. You do see the kills happening. There's no accidental, too much blood or anything like that. This is like people, this boogeyman is killing people. And, like, viciously and brutally. It's not like, ooh, I'm curious to see what happens. I mean, this is like, maybe they explore a little bit into what makes Michael tick. When they talk a little bit in some soliloquy fashion, voiceover or whatever, occasionally, but they still don't make him so human that he's not the boogeyman. And I don't know. Let me just say that obviously there's going to be the third movie, Halloween Ends. So I'm gonna have people coming behind me, so I'll walk on. Okay, so I've talked enough about the movie. I've talked enough about my city. They're going to put the lights up. And basically, so I don't seem too schizophrenic, I'm going to go ahead and end the video now. And I'll talk to you guys later. Watch the video, like and subscribe.